Bonjour, good morning everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the first plenary session of MEDays. My name is Jeff Ball. I'm a scholar in residence at Stanford University at the Steyer-Taylor Center for Energy Policy and Finance, and it's a pleasure to be here to welcome you to the conference and to the first plenary session which will deal with energy. What I'd like to do is introduce a really distinguished and varied group of panelists. And then I will welcome Abdel Fattah Aitami to give us some welcoming remarks, and then we'll jump right in. To my left, I have Pierre Gadonneix, who is chairman of the World Energy Council and formerly head of Électricité de France. Abbas al-Naqi, who is Secretary General of the Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries. Carmen Becerril, who is president of Acciona Energy just across the water in Spain. And Ahmed Nakouch from Nareva, the head of Nareva, a company here in Morocco which is doing quite a lot of wind development. What I'd like to do is introduce Abdel Fattah Aitami, and then we'll get into a discussion here. So Abdel Fattah, please come up. Sure. Do you want this? Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I stand before you today to give a brief presentation about certain issues that have been at the heart of research endeavors of Amadeus Institute. We're specifically talking about development, energy, and climate change, and the interstices between these very perplexing issues. To begin with, I would like to direct everyone's attention to the big elephant in the room. I understand that there's no elephant here. However, if we consider that our planet Earth is the room, then our big elephant would be population growth, and it is one of the it's one of the issues that actually shape the forecasts and national policies of many national governments all over the world. Speaking of population growth, there is a famous name. Her name is Danica May Camacho, right here. This little baby symbols us humans and our growth. The reason why she is famous is because she is labeled and picked up by the United Nations as the 7th billion human being. That is a very symbolic thing because it symbolizes how our population is growing globally. By the time Danica turns 18, there will be an additional billion people on Earth. By mid-century, there will be another additional billion, which will bring the total population into over 9 billion people. That is a huge challenge, and the question is, how good are we prepared to make sure that we meet the challenges ahead? 10 years ago, the Millennium Development Goals were adopted, with the adoption of the Human Development Goals, the objective was to make sure that we reduce poverty and many other challenges. However, as of today, we continue to have, as shown in the slide here, that undernourishment is still prevalent in many parts of the world, especially in East Asia and also in Sub-Saharan Africa. That remains a huge challenge. Another challenge that we face is what we call climate-forced migrants. And this is due to the fact that there will be people who will be displaced, as shown historically in 2010 in countries such as China, Pakistan, Colombia. There were people in millions who were displaced either internally or externally. So the total displacements due to climate change, as many people argue, was a total of 32 million persons. That will also bring us to the next challenge, which is how can we make sure that we meet the energy that we need, so that we have all the energy that we need to supply the growth that is needed to meet the basic services of a growing population in the world. As we can see here in the slide, the world liquid fuel supply is supposed to be in the decline between now and 2030, whereas the demand will be in the rise, and we will be facing a huge gap between the supply and the demand within the next 20 years. So the orange area in the slide shows that there is an increasing decline in view of a decreasing decline in supplies in view of an increasing demand. These challenges is why we're here today to try to answer these challenges, and we brought some of the finest minds in the world ahead of us, and they will be speaking about the last issue, which is energy and how we can solve that problem. So I thank you all for being here, and Jeff, it's back to you. Thank you.
Excellent, Abdel Fattah. Thanks very much for that. Let me just try to frame this discussion and then talk very briefly about logistics here, and then we will dive right in. It's a massive time of change in the energy world, as will be no surprise to all of you in this room. And I just want to talk about 3 or 4 things very quickly that happened just in the last week around the world with regard to energy. Earlier this week, the International Energy Agency in Paris released quite an interesting report. And here are a couple of things that it said, a report about energy. Before 2020, the United States will overtake Saudi Arabia as the world's largest oil producer. By 2030, North America will become a net oil exporter. By 2035, the United States will become, in the words of the IEA, all but self-sufficient in net terms in energy. One implication of that is potentially it changes the balance of power in the world in terms of energy, and we're going to talk about that today. I was in Germany before I came down to Morocco yesterday, and E.ON, the large German utility, released third quarter results this week, which were extraordinary for a couple of reasons, and here's one. E.ON reported less than compelling third quarter results, in part because of the recession, and in part because of the rise of renewable energy in Germany. The issue is that renewable energy, particularly solar, has gotten to be such a large percentage of the German electricity mix that it's eating into the profitability of the established utilities. Again, changes in the energy market are having implications on the economy, and we're going to get into that today too. In the U.S., President Obama, if you'll forgive me for my U.S. focus, you can tell I'm an American. President Obama, who won re-election recently in the United States, said this the other day about climate change and climate change policy in the United States. If the message right now is we're going to ignore jobs and growth simply to go after climate change, I don't think the American people are going to go for that. I won't go for that. So we will get into a discussion about climate change policy and the role of various countries, including the United States. More broadly, a couple of points beyond just what happened this week. Shale gas globally is spreading, particularly in the United States and in China and potentially elsewhere around the world, having a massive impact on the balance of power and also changing questions about energy supply. A retreat from nuclear energy, or at least a change in where nuclear energy is developing, as I think we'll hear later today, post-Fukushima. A massive decline in the cost of new renewable energy sources, particularly solar and wind, which, as the results of E.ON showed, are beginning to have real implications for established energy players around the world. So massive change, all of which we'll talk about. Let me just talk about a couple of logistical points, and then we'll jump in and hear from our speakers. First of all, we're going to cover a lot of ground today. We have about 75 minutes, and that seems like a lot, but we have some very intelligent, experienced people here, so I suspect the time is going to fly by. As a result of that, we're not going to have any presentations, no PowerPoints, no long speeches, and I'm going to be very impolite and keep people short in what they say that we can cover, so that we can cover a lot of ground. So if I strike you as very rude, I apologize at the beginning, and I apologize to you, but I think we'll have a sort of a more fun conversation that way. And my background background as a journalist, so I never have a problem being rude or asking a lot of questions. Let me also say, I know this is a large group, but I'd like to do this really informally, and I would really encourage you to ask some questions. Now, I'm not sure what the facilities are to stand up with a microphone, but I'm going to try to leave time at the end for some questions from you. And so to the extent that we say things here that make you angry or happy or concerned, I hope you'll articulate those. Lastly, and this may strike you as unconventional, but this is a large group in this room, yet it's a very tiny group in the context of the world. We're going to be addressing issues that I think are of interest to people around Morocco and beyond Morocco. And so if any of you have your mobile phones with you, and if any of you like to tweet, I'm going to ask you to tweet as we go through this discussion. I'm going to ask you to tweet your impressions about this or notes about what's being said up here at #MED for MEDays, #MEDEnergy. So if any of you are tweeters in the room, have at it. Let's jump right in. And what I've asked, I've actually not given anyone a list of questions in any great detail here, but I have asked each of the speakers to open up with by addressing the following question, and that is, what is each of their single biggest worries about the energy system going forward, and how would they fix that? So again, we're going to keep it short, and we're just going to go down the line, and then we'll dig into some specifics. Pierre, why don't we start with you?
Jeff, first. I was right. Excellent. Jeff, in your comment, you largely cover already the answer to your question. So I will give an answer not as a personal one, but as a chairman of the World Energy Council, which is an organization which gathers representatives from the government, from the industry of the energy, from all countries, from all energies. And during the last 2 or 3 years, we have increasing a consensus among us to think that the real challenge for the energy sector is to find the right balance between 3 challenges that all countries are aiming to achieve. The first one is security of supply. The second one is energy access, which is more important in a region like Africa or India, but it's an very important issue, even in developed countries. And the third one is environment issues, global warming, environmental local issues, and safety. And all governments and industries are worried to find what will be the right balance in the different government policies in the energy sector. And during the last 2 years and the last publication of the IEA that you mentioned show that the balance between the 3 challenges and the priorities is shifting, moving. It's not the same in one country to the other. There are differences, and it's completely normal because there is not one silver bullet answer to these questions. But there is a trend, you mentioned it in Europe, but not only, to push downward the preoccupation with regard to environment, security of supply, jobs, and the economic crisis as a result that the priority is shifting. And that is a preoccupation for the World Energy Council because the more we wait, the more difficult it will be in the long term to tackle the issue of global warming. And secondly, the great uncertainty that this is creating is a major preoccupation for industrial because they need to have long-term signal to know where they are going to invest. And there is today a great uncertainty on the priority that different governments will put in the different challenges I mentioned, especially with regard to environment. You mentioned Germany, where they have been making huge efforts with regard to the promotion of renewable, and the cost appears to the public opinion and to the government very high, and it's raising a question about that. That will be globally the preoccupation. How can we improve the right balance between the three challenges with a long-term view and signal for investors.
Excellent, and thank you. Excellent, and thank you very much for adhering to the time limit. I appreciate it. Naqi, please.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mr. Chairman, just before I start with my intervention in this very important forum, I would like to thank Mr. Ibrahim Al-Fihri and his group of organizers for inviting me to be here with you this morning, and just to highlight some issues which relates to our effects in the oil sector and the Arab oil sector. Thank you, and thank you very much. And also, the second point, for those who may not know what is OAPEC. OAPEC is the Organization of Arab Oil Producing Countries, and you know, so there is no different. Some people do not differentiate between OPEC and OAPEC. OAPEC is for international, and OPEC is international, and OAPEC is the Arab organization. And it was established in 1968. And its members now 11 member countries, Arab oil producing countries. And referring to your points, Mr. Chairman, with your permission and with the audience permission, I will talk in Arabic. الحضور الكريم، أن أهمية وغاز منطقة الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا مينا ريجن لا يمكن تجاهلها، فالمنطقة تمتلك حوالي 859 مليار برميل من الاحتياطيات المؤكدة من النفط، أي ما يشكل 52% من الإجمالي العالمي لعام 2011. وفي العام نفسه قامت دول المنطقة بإنتاج حوالي 30 مليون برميل في اليوم، وهو ما يمثل أكثر من ثلث الإنتاج العالمي من النفط. كما تمتلك دول المنطقة جزءا كبيرا من الطاقات الإنتاجية الفائضة من النفط، وتستأثر المنطقة بنحو 88 تريليون متر مكعب TCM من احتياطيات الغاز الطبيعي المؤكدة، والتي تمثل حوالي 42% من إجمالي الاحتياطيات العالمية، أو ما يشكل 20% من الإنتاج العالمي. بالإضافة إلى ذلك تتواجد في المنطقة أهم نقاط العبور والشحن الرئيسية لتجارة النفط العالمية، كمضيق هرمز وقناة السويس ومضيق باب المندب. وهذه العوامل المهمة وغيرها لدول المنطقة تلعب دورا في تلبية الطلب العالمي على الطاقة لعقود طويلة قادمة. لقد أسفرت الأحداث والتطورات السياسية والجيوسياسية في المنطقة كما ما بات معروفا لديكم جميعا بالربيع العربي، بالإضافة إلى التطورات بشأن التوترات الأخرى في المنطقة مع نهاية عام 2010 إلى الآن في بعض بلدان المنطقة، أدت هذه التطورات إلى ما يسمى حالة عدم اليقين للإمدادات للعرض. فهذه المخاوف من عدم اليقين في حالة الإمدادات جعلت الكثير أو بعض الدول التي تستهلك النفط بشكل عام من تخوف من عدم وصول هذه الإمدادات إليها. لكن هذه المخاوف تم تجاوزها بشكل كبير بعد أن قامت بعض الدول التي تمتلك فائضا في إنتاجها مثل المملكة العربية السعودية ودولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة والدول الأخرى بتعويض هذه الكميات التي خرجت من السوق، وبالتالي حافظت الأسعار إلى حد ما على مستواها التي يعني لم تكن متوقعا أو لم يكن متوقعا في البداية. هذه هي النقطة الأولى بالنسبة للمخاوف الأخيرة في منطقة الشرق الأوسط. ولا شك أن الحكومات الجديدة في البلدان المتضررة أيضا سوف تواجه تحديات ضخمة، ليس لوضع اقتصادها فقط على المسار الصحيح، ولكن أيضا لتحقيق نمو اقتصادي أعلى وخلق المزيد من فرص العمل لمواطنيها. ونتيجة لذلك ومهما كانت تركيبة الحكومات الجديدة سيكون لديهم حافز قوي للبحث عن استقرار السوق ومواصلة سياساتها المتعلقة بالطاقة الإنتاجية والتصديرية لتوليد الإيرادات أو لتوفير الإيرادات المالية لأغراض التنمية لديها. الأخ الرئيس، لدي نقطتين أيضا يعني مهمين جدا فيما يتعلق بضمان الإمدادات. One minute is that enough? 2 minutes, okay. فيما يتعلق بضمان الإمدادات، فضمان الإمدادات تكلم السيد غادوني تكلم عن ضمان الطلب عن الإمدادات، the security of supply. احنا كدول منتجة للنفط مهم جدا عندنا the security of demand، يعني الطلب على الطاقة، يعني ليس فقط يعني security of supply، لكن في الجانب الآخر the other face of the coin is the security of demand. عند البلايين التي تقوم الدول المنتجة للنفط أو المصدرة بإيداعها أو في وضعها في مشاريع استثمارية كبيرة في البترول والغاز وكل أمور الطاقة، فهذه إذا ما في طلب على هذه الطاقة على هذا كان، فلماذا تصرف هذه البلايين من الدولارات في ما لم يكن هناك رؤية واضحة على security of demand، ضمان الطلب على الطاقة، ليس فقط يعني احنا ننظر لها من الوجهتين، ضمان الوصول عرض الإمدادات وضرورة هذه. والنقطة الأخيرة أيضا فيما يتعلق الأخيرة إذا سمح لي سيد نص دقيقة، فيما يتعلق بمفاوضات تغير المناخ. يعني هذا طبعا هذا موضوع تالي في راح يجينا بعد هذه المحاضرة، ولكن موضوع التغيرات المناخية، أنا من الأشخاص الذين عاصروا هذه المفاوضات منذ كوب 1 في برلين إلى الكوب 18 في الدوحة الذي سيكون إن شاء الله. فهذه الاتفاقية، اتفاقية UNFCCC، اتفاقية تغير المناخ وكيوتو بروتوكول، هذه اتفاقيات على المدى البعيد قد يكون لها تأثير على اقتصاديات الدول التي تعتمد على مصدر واحد للنفط وهو النفط أو الغاز، لأن هذه السياسات التي وضعتها بعض الكتل الاقتصادية لتخفيف طلبها على الوقود الأحفوري، هذه قد تؤدي إلى الضرر لهذه الدول. شكرا سيد الرئيس، وآسف على التأخير. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Does this work? Excellent, then I don't have to keep turning. So, Carmen, what worries you most about the future of the energy system?
Totally different than my colleague on my right, sincerely. You know, I am representing Acciona. Acciona is a company working in more than 20 countries with capacity installed in 13 different countries worldwide. But the particularity of our portfolio is that we work only in renewables, in different technologies, especially in wind, but wind, solar, hydro, etc. So we are absolutely focused on renewables. Then just trying to answer your question, which is the main concern that we can see in not only in our business, but in general in the energy system today, I should want to focus a couple of ideas. First, you know that the International Energy Agency this week has presented the World Energy Outlook this year, and they are considering that energy demand, primary energy demand, it will increase 35% from 2010 to 2035. So quite an important increase. An important part of them is just oil, gas, and of course renewables as well. But another figure is that if the energy demand, it will increase 35%, primary energy, electricity, the electric demand, it will increase around 71%. That means that our economies, our way of life is going to move from the direct consumption of fields to the electricity as a cleaner way of consumption. And in this scenario, the IEA is considering that renewables are going to grow around 170% from today till 2035. So let me say we can look with quite an optimistic expectation the future of our business in renewables. 170%. That means that we have, we in general, the energy, the people working in the energy sector, we have to develop quite an important amount of capacity of renewable energy in the future. But even with that figures, which are very ambitious, in fact, and they are considering all the global problems that we have to face today as, for instance, climate change, as the security of supply as one of the main concerns of a lot of countries and so on. The truth is that just to increase in such a huge amount the capacity of renewables installed, there are several conditions which are critical. And it is not so obvious that these conditions will be in place, will be established to reach such an important increase of capacity in renewables. I think the main condition is stability in the regulation frameworks, predictability, and long-term orientation policy. You know, we are working in a very intensive capital sector. Then in the very beginning, in the first 2 years, we have to invest quite a huge amount of money, and we have 20 years just to recover the investment. 20 years is quite a large time, and then the instability is probably our worst enemy. And why? At the end of the day, because we are working with banks, and financing deals are more and more difficult. And they are, if banks are not comfortable, if financial institutions are not comfortable, it is impossible to develop the business. Not only renewables, of course, there are another energy technologies also conditioned by this, by this element. But in the case of renewable, is much more sensitive, the availability of funds than probably than other technologies. So the concern about the possibility to have the funds, the money to develop such a huge amount of capacity in renewables, I think is one of the critical aspects that we have to face today. And let me underline another issue which I think is critical and can be directly related with the development of renewables, which is that we can forget that 1,300 million people has no access to the commercial energy today. It seems that wind is just coming with us.
I was going to say,
so
the discussion is about the greatest fear about the energy system, not about the building. Yeah, right.
No, but I would like to say that there is an opportunity for wind.
Exactly
energy.
Right. We're witnessing the possibility
Obviously,
for renewable
absolutely.
energy. That's right.
I have to say, very nice wind in this area. And, investment here is quite a good opportunity for all of us. But let me just finish mentioning this. We have to know, we have to realize, we have to be very conscious that there is quite an important amount of people in the world, more than 1 billion people, without energy access. This year it has been declared by the United Nations as Sustainable Energy for All, one of the most important initiatives. I think renewables can be a part of the solution, quite an important part of the solution. Even from Acciona, we have a very nice initiative just developing in an isolated area in the north of Peru, the electrification, rural electrification for families. probably is one of the most important problems to be faced by the authorities in some areas. And just one question, I think I can even more use Peru as an example of how to do it possible, to do possible this deployment of renewables in isolated areas. The key is just the regulation again. If we are considering that these people, if from the governments is considered that these people is not in the system, so if they are not in the system, they don't exist, then the solution of this problem, it will be impossible. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to underline one dichotomy of statistics that was in the IEA report this week that I think is striking. The world, according to the IEA, currently gets 81% of energy from fossil fuels. Does anyone in the audience know what the IEA's prediction is about what portion of energy will come from fossil fuels in 2035? Just raise your hand. Someone here does, please. 75%. 75%. So how does one read that? One way to read that is that there's not much of a change in the size of the pie, right? Here's another statistic from the IEA report, and that is just with reference to what Carmen said about renewables. By 2035, the IEA predicts that renewables will be about 1/3 of global electricity output, and by 2015, renewables will become the world's second largest source of electricity behind coal. So one thing that suggests is that although the pie itself may not fundamentally change in terms of what energy sources are important, there's quite a lot of money to be made, even in small slices of the pie. And we'll get into the business aspect of that. I just want to kind of underline that. Ahmed, forgive me, your biggest concern about the energy system going forward.
Merci, Jeff. Je voudrais juste apporter une petite correction. Nareva n'est pas une société installée au Maroc, c'est une société marocaine. Voilà. Donc nous sommes le premier opérateur privé dans le domaine de la production de l'énergie, notamment renouvelable. Et nous sommes en train d'investir à peu près 500 MW d'éolien, notamment ici à côté de Tanger, où, comme vous le voyez, il y a beaucoup de vent. Je voudrais dire que le Maroc partage les mêmes préoccupations que le Conseil mondial de l'énergie, puisqu'il s'est fixé 3 objectifs. La sécurité d'approvisionnement, surtout pour nous qui dépendons énormément de l'extérieur, puisque nous apportons 90% de nos besoins en énergie. J'espère qu'un jour, on découvrira des ressources énergétiques propres, mais pour l'instant, nous sommes fortement dépendants de l'extérieur. La deuxième priorité, c'est l'accès à l'énergie. Et dans ce domaine, le Maroc a fait un effort considérable durant ces 15 dernières années, puisqu'aujourd'hui, plus que 98% des Marocains ont accès à l'énergie. Et d'ailleurs, ça se traduit par une très forte croissance de la demande, notamment l'électricité, puisqu'aujourd'hui, la consommation augmente en moyenne de 8% par an. Et le troisième objectif, c'est le respect de l'environnement. Voilà. Donc, nous sommes en ligne.
Je veux simplement dire que ce n'est pas un hasard. Si j'ai dit ça, c'est parce que, je voulais vous dire, c'est que finalement, il y a un consensus mondial là-dessus.
Voilà. Très bien. Alors, ça s'est traduit par une vision à long et moyen terme, notamment au niveau du mix énergétique. Et le Maroc n'écarte aucune option, puisque aujourd'hui, dans le plan d'équipement des 20 prochaines années, la production de l'électricité va être basée sur le charbon, sur le gaz, mais aussi sur les énergies renouvelables, puisque 42% de la capacité installée au Maroc en 2020 sera à base d'énergie renouvelable, hydraulique, solaire et éolien. Et sur le plan institutionnel, notre pays a mis en place des textes de loi qui ont ouvert le secteur aux opérateurs privés nationaux et internationaux, notamment avec une certaine stabilité sur le plan institutionnel. Si vous voulez, en tant que pays africain et en tant que pays du Sud, ce que nous pouvons regretter, c'est l'abandon programmé du protocole de Kyoto et des mécanismes de développement propres qui étaient associés et qui, je le rappelle, avaient pour objectif de subventionner les énergies renouvelables qui sont moins compétitives que les énergies conventionnelles. Et grâce aux mécanismes de développement propres qui existaient, enfin qui existent encore jusqu'à fin 2012, des pays en voie de développement pouvaient investir dans les énergies renouvelables et vendre des certificats carbone aux pays pollueurs pour équilibrer ou pour accéder à une énergie à un prix supportable par les populations de ces pays-là. Or, aujourd'hui, avec l'échec de toutes les conférences pour prolonger les accords de Kyoto, nous pensons que ce n'est pas une bonne chose et nous pouvons que regretter les tergiversations des pays les plus riches pour régler, si vous voulez, ce problème que nous partageons tous et qui est le problème de réchauffement de la planète. Voilà. Donc, malgré tout ça, notre pays a une position, si vous voulez, volontariste. Et comme je vous l'ai dit aujourd'hui, nous sommes en train d'investir énormément dans les énergies renouvelables parce que c'est une ressource dont nous disposons et que nous devons valoriser pour répondre aux trois, si vous voulez, aux trois objectifs que nous nous sommes fixés. Voilà.
Pardon, Jeff. Après, je voudrais. Excuse me. I want to comment a bit later. I want to comment a bit just this sentence. Renewables are more expensive than conventional. Please.
We will absolutely talk about that. I want to first of all, thank you all, and I think my hope here was that what we would get by this was a kind of varied introduction to the energy scene, and I think we've gotten exactly that. So I think this frames what will happen over the course of the next 50 minutes or so well. I want to first talk about oil. I have to say that it's not just what I have to say, but if any of you picked up a newspaper in the last few days, I think it's fair to say that you saw front page stories on the IEA's report that the United States was going to overtake Saudi Arabia as the world's largest oil producer. And I wanted to ask Naqi first two questions. One, do you buy that? Do you accept the IEA's predictions? And if you do, what are the implications geopolitically for that?
Thank you very much. First of all, I read that article about that the United States will replace Saudi Arabia in total quantities of producing oil in general, and it will replace Saudi Arabia. I personally, and also many studies refer that it will not be that as it was written. So that was only for it was, but I personally I do not believe the capacity of Saudi Arabia right now is about 12.5 million barrels a day, and even if we can say that the effort being done by the United States to increase their production, it will not reach or it will not be over the total capacity of the Saudi production for the time being. And the effect of that, of course, as you said, the effect of if that's true, and the effect of that on the geopolitical, there is a very big local demand. Local consumption inside Saudi Arabia, and there's an increased amount of requirements for oil and gas and other kinds of energy that will be consumed internally, so that will not be any regional effect or geopolitical on our sector. That's my views anyway. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thanks. I want to ask a question about energy efficiency. We had a discussion at breakfast before, and I know that some of these people feel quite strongly that energy efficiency is really important. And I think it's fair to say that broadly, what gets most of the attention are what one might call the sexy technologies. And what gets less attention are technologies, for instance, energy efficiency, that almost every study, including the latest IEA study, says make economic sense today. And yet there are impediments in terms of the market, in terms of the flow of capital, that lots of people have identified as being the real reasons why these energy efficiency improvements are not happening. And to the extent, obviously, that energy efficiency were improved, the amount of additional energy that would have to come from fossil fuels or from renewables would be reduced.